Here's another portfolio piece. I'm wearing a hat because it's cold, and I'm kind of tired because it's 1 a.m., but we're gonna get through this. What this project does is it takes information on Actors Access. That's this website here. A friend of mine is an actor, and he wanted the information here to be sent to him on WhatsApp. And it takes a lot of time to go through all of these and then to browse which roles are a good fit for me. And it's very difficult because there's different regions. So there's New York, there's all these different regions in the US. So you have to go to that specific region, find a project you like, then you pull that project up. I gotta log in, of course. And you have to read through these roles and see if it's something that you'd want to apply for. And as you can see here, this one's female, this is Japanese, my friend's Asian, it might work, but you have to go through all these projects and you have to check, is this something that I want to do? Does it fit me as an actor? Is this something I could apply to? So it takes a huge amount of time to go through all those different projects. There's also different types. And on the website, there's not really a great way to filter that information. You more or less just have to go through and do it all manually, spending a huge amount of time doing that yourself. So what he wanted is he wanted some way to get all that information, find the roles that are a good fit for him, and then get that information on WhatsApp, because he checks WhatsApp much more often. And it's kind of a pain to go to this website every day. So it's better if that information is available on WhatsApp, which is something that he checks every day. And then you can just, when you're going onto WhatsApp, it's just right there ready for you. So here's how the finished output looks on WhatsApp. For each project, you have a link to the original project. You have some data about the project, and then you have the roles which are a fit for my friend. So there's a complex filtering system that basically only gives roles that are a good fit for him to apply to. So if we press the link, if you look here, there's many more roles than what is actually here. There's only 3 roles here, but there's more on the original posting. And that's because these roles have been filtered out to only be roles that are things he could or would apply for. So that's basically what this project does. It gets information from Actors Access, it goes through a whole bunch of code stuff, filters out the roles that we want, and then sends that information to my friend on WhatsApp. So let's go a bit more in depth and we'll take a look at how all this is done. So the first major problem was getting the information from Actors Access. So if you look here, there's a login screen. A major thing that cost me a lot of time was figuring out a web scraper that had login logic. So we can't look at this if we're not logged in. It just doesn't let us go through. You have to be logged in. So I actually made a fake account. There's a account with there's a username and password on another account that's not my own, and the web scraper actually logs in to that account whenever it's logged out. There's a whole login function. There's login logic. It passes in a username and password for an account I created, and then also while it's scraping the site, there's re-login logic. I'm just scrolling through here. I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty details, but basically, if you're not logged in, it logs in using the account information. And then if you're like 300, 400 roles in, sometimes the site logs you out, and there's logic in the code to check if you're logged out and then re-log back in. And then also, we just go through every single region. My friend wanted all the roles that might be a good fit for him in the whole USA. So we go through every single region, and then we go through every single role, and the web scraper collects all that information into one huge sheet, one huge database. So we get all the information here, and then when you press a project and you log in, we get all the information that's available here. And that is aggregated into one Google Sheet. And that is here. This is one example run. This is a run with 650 roles, or I guess actually a better name, it's actually 650 projects, because some of these projects have more than one role. If you look here, the most roles a project had was 32. That's here. but this is every single project that the scraper scraped with each of those roles. There is some filtering already occurring in the web scraping stage. I changed the password, so this is not actually my password. I'll change it back after. But we only look at 30 pages. We don't go more than that. We only look at 50 projects per region. So per region, we're only looking at 50 projects because, to be honest, once you get past 50, they're outdated or the deadline's passed. There's no real reason to. And also it just limits the data so we don't have way too many. We don't want 3,000 projects. I mean, what we're getting with 650 is more than sufficient. And also, we're only getting these types of projects. My friend only wants to do on-screen work, and these are the types of projects where that's a good fit. So yeah, so once we have all this data, that was the initial problem, extracting the data from Actors Access. That was done using the Apify web scraper, and we can run that on a schedule or whenever we want. And now the next problem is we don't have the information we want because we have 650 projects. It's just way more information than we want to deal with. You know, if I wanted to look through this, then it's still a manual task. Like, it's nice that it's all in this one Google Sheets, but it's just way too much to handle. There's just way too much going on here. And a lot of these roles are not roles that he's going for. So we want to find some way to filter out all these roles into roles that he's actually going to apply for. And that's the next step in the project. So again, we don't have the information we want. So what I did is I created an N8N workflow that extracts the roles we do want through some kind of complex filtering logic. So if I go here, that's this section of the workflow. And what we do is we get all the data from the Google Sheet. We just clean it up a little bit. There's no limit currently, so all 650 projects are being filtered into this loop. And then we have one block here. This is a code block that filters out things that are very obviously not going to work for him. My friend is a very specific kind of person. He's got a very unique look, and he's only going to be going for certain kinds of roles. So he's quite short. He's Asian in appearance. He can dance. He's got martial arts background. So he has a lot of different things that make him very unique and very special. So we're trying basically with this node to remove everything that's very obviously not going to fit. So we have an age range. We have 35 to 55. He doesn't want to do background work, so we're just filtering all that out. If it's Italian, if it's white, that's not going to work. So we filter based off ethnicity, and this is all text that would appear in the role description. So we filter all of that out. And then also, because he's good at martial arts, because he's good at all these really niche things, we just return true and say it's a great fit if it has that. So basically, this is just hard code to do a broad filter and remove out the stuff that's obviously not going to work for him. And when I ran this, we passed in 650 projects. This removed like 400 or 500 projects. So it's great. It's a hard filter, but then there's projects where it's not quite clear, is this a good fit or not? So if it's ambiguous whether or not he should apply for a project, we pass it into an OpenAI node. And this is just a call to OpenAI. Here's the prompt. But basically we just say, here's some information on my friend. Here's what we want. And can you read the role and say, is it a good fit? And if it's not, just filter it out, and if it could be a good fit, then pass it on through. So if you want to take a closer look, you can just read through the exact prompt, but that's basically the final filtering logic. And then there's just some cleaning. It's just some cleaning, and then it's added into the database. And that basically is the filtering step. It just gets all the projects, all 650, and then only gets the roles that are going to be a good fit for my friend. And if you take a look here, this is the output after that workflow is run. And there are far, far fewer projects. If I go to the bottom, of the 650 projects, there's only 93 that made it through the filter. And also, if you take a look at the roles, Like originally, some of these projects had up to 32 roles, whereas here it's quite rare for there to be more than 8 or 10 because we filtered out all the roles even in each project. So there's only a couple here in the database. We've solved the second problem here, which is that we don't have the information we want. We now do. It's here in the database. And the final step in the project is to get that information to my friend on WhatsApp, because that's where he wants it. It's still kind of difficult and hard to read here, and it's not super visually appealing. So the final workflow just takes that information, makes it very visually appealing, and then sends it to him on WhatsApp. So that is here. It just gets the projects from the database right here. This code just makes it clean, and then it just puts it into a certain format, and then it sends it to him on WhatsApp. And yeah, then that information is available here, and he can read through. This can be run on a schedule. It can be sent daily. And now he has all the most, recent projects across the whole USA sent to him. And it takes much less time to read because they're all already filtered for him. There's no background work. It's only roles he's interested in. And it saved a huge amount of time. And it's super convenient. So yeah, that's my portfolio piece. And I hope you enjoyed.